I get these calls. I get them. I get them at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. Dell, we just went out to clean up on the patio, and there's a raccoon sitting in the middle of the table, and he will not leave. He will not leave.
It's not stupid.
How a raccoon acts on the end of eastern Long Island is different than any other raccoon in the way they act in other locations.
Are the Hamptons raccoons particular? Will they only eat organic?
No, that's funny, but I'll tell you what. They live at large out here because they eat all the trash in these restaurant dumpsters. So you're talking about lobsters, clams. Now, that's what the humans give them. Forget the restaurants. But beach, one thing about the beach, that's the super highway for wildlife, particularly raccoons. They can go from East Hampton to Montauk and back and forth and work everybody in between. They can go until there's something pulls them inland. They're very smart.
Who can you call at 2 a.m. if you need a raccoon driven across the Shinnecock Canal? Is your family of foxes mangy? Is a hedgehog eating you out of your zinnias? Do you have bats in your basement, swifts in your chimney? Or have you seen an osprey who has forgotten how to fly? If you can't resort to killing your cousins, there is only one human for the job. This is Phantom Hampton, stories from where the rest of us live. Phantom Hampton is a podcast about the 99% living in the 1% world of the Hamptons. These are stories you might not think are happening out here on the eastern tip of Long Island. This week's episode is called Dell Cullum's Wild Island. Dell Cullum is amazingly well, considering he was flat on his broken back only a couple of months ago. While trying to get a raccoon off a roof in the rain, his ladder slid out beneath him. He's a man who's hard to catch. He's available for wildlife rescue calls at any hour. And for the past week, he's been waking at 5 a.m. to beat the summer traffic to Bridgehampton in order to trap a hedgehog that has obviously had some experience with traps and will not be tempted into Dell's cage, even with a great delicacy like melon. But Dell doesn't kill anything, and I mean anything. So if his humane trap won't entice the hedgehog, she will have to call another pest control company that will probably use other methods.
That's what I want to do. Come on in, Kara. Oh my gosh, things are so hectic.
What's going on?
Well, it all happens at once. It's how it happens. The Osprey was awesome. When I got there, 2 fishermen were there and kept jumping into the water. Well, it was jumping into the channel. So I grabbed my wetsuit and I went down there with a long net. The bird just looked at me, and I just put the net out and put it over him, and he didn't move. Because, if he took a bite on me, he'd take a chunk out of me. They would have just ripped into me. Hello?
Hey, Dell, can you hear me now?
I can. So, Jen, a bird was hit?
Well, she was like in the middle of the lane when I was going back to work on Hot Creek, so I turned around.
Don't take a chance and get in that brush and get full. It's nymph tick season,
Yeah.
and you're in big trouble. Put it in a shoebox, in a towel or something, and I'd bring it right to the vet. But you can always drop something off here as well. But I'm not a doctor. I wish I was a vet. So, all right, Jen, I got to go do a quick squirrel rescue.
Okay.
All right.
I'm fascinated by Dell and others who are called on to be the intermediaries in the ongoing struggle for space on an ever more populated Long Island. People who stand in between and do the translating from one species to another. My question is why humans specifically resist entering the realms of other consciousnesses, or even resist the idea that other species have consciousness. So I asked Dell about the mindset of those humans who can't perceive the personhood of animals. What is the deal? But he is as forgiving of his fellow humans as he is of animals. Dell believes that they're simply misinformed about the way nature works and how smart the animals are. He believes it's his calling to educate humans about their cousins. After a series of mistimed rendezvous with Bats and Osprey, we finally meet at his house in East Hampton Village, and Dell unhitches the back of his pickup truck. We hear the faint howling and growling of a trapped fox that sits crouching in one of the cages. Dell soothes the frightened animal. "We're gonna get you taken care of. No one's going to hurt you. This one has mange," he tells me. The fox gets up as if on command, and we see his raw hind legs, bald underbelly, and ravaged tail.
So I'm like, I'm a typical local guy. I got a broke down truck that makes a lot of noises.
You've got 3 hats on the dashboard.
Yes. This one I wear all the time. Jackson Hole. That's where I learned the most crucial parts of my business and learned my trapping from this old guy who did it, to feed his family. He was a Mormon. He had to know this kind of stuff to protect his livestock because there were a lot of wolves, a lot of coyotes, there were grizzly bears. That's probably the only thing I don't know.
We pull up to the site the Fox family Dell is trapping has chosen on a huge Georgica estate that has a view across acres of rolling lawn to Georgica Pond. A perfect spot for their den behind a crop of boulders. Dell has already caught the 3 teenage siblings who are all together at the Wildlife Rescue Center. But when we round the corner, we can see that the trap he set for the mother is empty.
Amazing.
This house! I know this woman.
She passed away.
Okay.
Basically, either I got something or I'm going to refresh the trap for tonight.
So describe where we are.
Yeah, the Georgica Pond is right as you come out here. There's Georgica Pond, okay?
Yeah.
Beautiful garden over there. Look at this weeping willow. If you go over there, all ground cover ferns that has, reached about 2.5, 3 feet high. Complete cover all around those rocks except this facing side. So it was perfect. And they lay on those rocks and sun themselves. She sent me a picture. It was beautiful.
Georgica foxes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, I'm a little worried because now it's over there. It's by itself. We have the other ones. We have the siblings. You probably don't think about what it is until you see an animal that has no hair and you say, that must be what they call that mange. They knew they were kits. They knew they were in bad shape. This is the coolest thing. Even though there's bait in there, which is chicken, 2 chicken tenders and a chicken feet. They love this, okay? So they let it get rancid. That's why at the sun, it's got it nice and dry. Look at the flies are on it. It's starting to, it'll smell. When he comes back tonight to see if there's more of that stuff, he's going to see this. He's going to eat it. Only one thing can go wrong. A raccoon finds it first. Because once this closes up, whatever's in it has to wait till the morning. I use a camera that sends pictures to my phone, which is really cool. And if I catch the fox tonight, and I know it's going to rain late tonight, I can come and get this animal out of the rain. And that's exactly how I got hurt. Because I completely, I broke my back. So I had gone numb. Thinking about it, it scares me. So when I moved to get the phone is when I realized that I wasn't paralyzed. So I had to turn over and I got on my hands and knees. But I said, you know what? I'm moving my neck and I just got up on my hands and knees. Next thing I know, I hear the sirens coming. I had never been hurt like that before. I broke a collarbone when I was a kid. I was so young that I barely remember it.
Were you rescuing an animal at that point?
No, actually. No. That's a good question. Apparently, I had gotten a bird's nest and it had eggs in it. It's just gonna watch. Watch this. What this guy does. Tell me I can't predict this crap. He's going to do something amazingly unsafe and illegal. I guarantee you. Watch. You just watch. It's like the Wild West. In the Wild West, they had cars.
It's go-karts.
Yeah, go-karts, bumper cart. So, oh, come on. Don't don't make me look bad. Okay, I thought he was gonna fly around and like cut everyone off.
No, he probably was going to, Dell, but at the last minute, his wife said, "Are you crazy?"
That's so true. That's so true. If you do that, if you pull out in front of those cars,
You know, one of the reasons I wanted to do an interview with you is this idea that you're the, I don't know the word to call it, you're the intermediary between the Hamptons human realm and the Hamptons animal realm, and you have to mediate,
right,
basically educate the humans.
right, which is a real big part, and I enjoy that part as well, because I always say that I do it for the animals first and the people second, because it's easier to deal with the animals. They don't ask you questions, they don't argue, and they're not worried about how much it's going to cost.
And they don't say, "Bring me the head of the raccoon."
Yeah. Yeah, see, there are people that just don't have...
It's illegal to release a raccoon from a trap and must be killed within 5 feet of where it's captured. Dell told me it's because the state knows that if the trappers even drive out of the driveway with these animals alive, they're likely to just let them go. He tells me they drown them in large plastic garbage cans, even the babies. And he's seen guys tie ropes around the cages and throw them into the bay until the animals inside have drowned. He told me the story of an irate man who demanded that he bring him the head of the raccoon so that he could verify that it was dead, and of a man who accused him of trying to charge him twice for trapping the same raccoon, so he spray-painted its fur blue to identify it. Dell usually drives his raccoons that he's trapped at least across the Shinnecock Canal, hoping they'll head toward the Pine Barrens. But the call of Hampton's lobster and steak is great. The state has called him to task for refusing to kill any of the creatures he traps, but he stands firm. He doesn't need the state license to run his business. He is run off his feet, literally, by repeat business from customers who care about what happens to their animal fellows.
You know, call them what you will. When you sit down and you think about it, you have to say, with all the people in the world today and all the problems and all the wackiness that goes on, of course there are people that aren't going to like animals as equal to those that do. You have the right to feel the way you want. I don't care if it's religion, if it's just an opinion. It could be so outlandish, but when you hurt somebody, that's where I would have a problem. You're respectful to the people that don't feel the same way. This is one of the old original houses, very small ceilings and what have you. So she saw a squirrel going in through the gable vent, wasn't wired up properly. She had a friend of hers go up there and take a look around. So he gets up there and he sees there's a bunch of babies. It's a low ceiling though, so I was able to put a squirrel trap. So I'm hoping that if all went well, like it never does, if it was predictable, which this business is never predictable. You cannot predict wildlife. They'll always surprise you, and that's what I love about this business. It's so cool to have a job like that where you can learn all the time. Now, you're not going to go up in the attic, so I'm not going to give you...
Why not?
You can stick your head up there.
Okay, yeah.
It's low enough. I always do it for the safe side anyway.
The mask?
Always. And let me tell you, if my wife knew I was going up into an attic, she'd have my friggin' head. Or on a ladder. But wait till you see how high the ceiling is. I almost can bump my head. So I think this is going to be fine. If I can't, I won't do it. Okay. She's 83. She's the lady you see walking all the time from East Hampton to Amagansett with a ball cap on and a yellow raincoat. It's Penny Pinsley. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful lady. I love her to death. The other company wanted to charge her, I think it was $750 to come up here and just remove the babies, and they were going to kill them. They were going to use a lethal trap to catch mama coming out. Then they'd go get the babies and probably, I don't even want to speculate. And there's a bunch of people out there that are good. I'm not bad-mouthing anybody. We have a lot of good trappers, a lot of compassionate trappers out there. What we got is a little bit different.
What's that?
Can you see that? You can't see it. It's behind the thing. I'll take a picture. What it looks like is a flying squirrel.
Oh.
And that is a whole different story for what I'm prepared for.
You know, your wife is gonna kill you.
Yeah. Hey, little guy. Uh-oh. That's a flying squirrel. That's probably not too good. This could be a mama.
Oh, I see him in the mesh at the window.
You see the animal?
Uh-huh.
That's a flying squirrel. It's got a small hole chewed in this screen. Hey, sweetie. Can you see that?
I can see the movement and the fur, and how could you tell from so far away?
Well, I've seen a million of them. And she's a mama, and she's nursing. We've got another job to do. This one is usually a little bit easier. Now, I don't see any babies in there, so she could be pregnant. She just left. Oh, they're little tiny little babies. Okay. This is what we do. These things don't even have hair on them. They look like baby birds that just hatched. They're super new. What I've got to do, I got to call this lady and try to convince her to let these babies
Get a bit older.
If she wants me to remove this, what I would do, put wiring over the screen so the mother can't get out. At that point, come back on the inside, cut a hole, and force the mother into a trap. Let it ride. Come here tomorrow and remove them by hand, and then bring them to the rehab center. Mama, I'm going to have to catch separately, which I'm hoping she'll either go in the trap or I'm going to have to scare her out. My goal is to keep them all together.
How can they ever find their families again?
They do.
Do you release them near where they were picked up?
Most always, that information is taken when that animal comes in. The osprey that I rescued the other night, if it doesn't recover before they migrate south, then they'll hold on to it, get it well, and then when they feel it's ready to be released, they'll transport it to a location down south to the areas that they already figure out what times these animals migrate. Amazing network of people that do this operation. They've got my foxes, they've got deer, got everything. If it's injured and it's wildlife, they got it. In the stories, Paul McCartney brought a butterfly there. Hit with his car or something, he got out, got it, brought it to them.
No kidding.
That's the story, I don't know.
Sounds like quite a fable, doesn't it?
I don't know. Are you kidding me? I don't put anything past this place.
What's the strangest thing you've ever had to remove out here?
Well, the strangest would be the animals that aren't from here that people release a lot of times at the end of the summer. Animals that were purchased or brought here or, were gifts, were used at a party. A lot of these weddings that they release doves, a lot of times these doves fly away, and so they don't know how to survive in the wild, and they end up finding a spot sitting put. But snakes. I mean, I've had pythons, boa constrictor, but people buy them as pets. They can't take care of them.
There's one of your deer.
Look at that's a three-legged deer. She's been with me for 4 years. She's got a dislocated shoulder. She hasn't used her hoof since we've known her. She survives through all our winters. She just had 2 babies. They're here. They're probably right behind the shed. Oh, no. See where she's going?
Yeah.
That's where she lives, behind those trees. There's a big space I cleared out for her. She's been with us for 4 years. We've seen her, withstand the winters, but also some of the other deer sometimes like to push her out of the way give them some apples and stuff. And she holds her own. She protects her young. I've seen her run. It's the most painful thing to see because she runs on that knee.
Oh.
Imagine carrying the babies in that condition during the winter.
Did she come here as a rescue?
No. She's been pushed into this area because this all used to be woods. When we moved here, this was all woods. They don't make these corridors. See, their fence and our fence allows them to pass between properties to go from that road to that road.
Oh.
Okay? That's what all properties are supposed to have. So they go here, and there's a protected corridor right here. So they live in this corridor. You got to leave them some space, not to just live, but they got to eat. That brings us to the gardening situation. I mean, what do you expect? These animals not to eat? You hate them as it is. What do you want them to starve? You're not supposed to have all four sides of your house can't have 10-foot, 12, 14-foot fences. Got to have a pass through. And a lot of people don't. And there's so many that don't, that code enforcement doesn't know who to hit first, because the first person they hit is going to spark all the other people to start lawyering up. And it's just going to be a fiasco. Why? Because they let it go. So now, now it's a big problem. We talk about it.
The main engine under Dell is his undying curiosity, enthusiasm, and mostly imagination for the work he is involved in. He has a strong enough self to withstand the idea that all forms of life have consciousness and deserve respect. It's no small feat to imagine a world in which we share resources and protect each other's values. It's not just about human empathy or the lack of it, I realize. It seems to be all of a piece. Those of our species who don't have the imagination to put themselves in another person's shoes will not be able to imagine the fullness of an animal's universe, or even further, to imagine that this wild island and the earth need our protection and care.
Now, now it's a big problem. We talk about it. I'm on the East Hampton Town Deer Management Committee. I'm there as a tool. I'm literally there. I have no say. I have no voting power. They put me on the board because I asked to start somebody on there that was in favor of the deer, because everyone else isn't. They allowed me on there just to satisfy people, but they're not stupid. They know they just put me on there to satisfy people. So they put a second person on there, 2 against another 6. It's ridiculous. The only way a committee can be fair is if at the very least it has equal sides of the basic issue. Even the animals. So even the wildlife gets sucked up into politics and gets controlled by special interests. In this case, and in most cases, it's for the wrong thing. There's never been a proper count. The last count they did do back in 2006 was the best they came up with. And it had declined from the previous years. They don't want to hear it's a decline. You can cross words and call it a population study. The study involved in their sterilization program.
And tell me why this tagging is so bad.
The animals are tagged. They're given a number to identify the deer.
Right.
To identify the deer with the data. The back tag has a number on it, so that if a hunter shoots one of these deer that the village paid $1,000 to have sterilized, you're still allowed to shoot them if you see them. If you want to waste the village's money, the tag tells you that this deer was tranquilized on a particular date. It says this deer was tranquilized, call this number. Oh, deer number 30? Yeah, we tranquilized him back in January of 2015. The chemicals are only stay in the body for 30 days, so it's safe to eat. That's the only purpose.
Wow.
Okay? So after 30 days, the tags are unnecessary. These deer have been wearing these tags now going on 3 years.
Why not put something on that slowly disintegrates? What is the deal with it?
Even more so with the collars. The batteries ran out. They're no good. So they're wearing tags and collars. They don't even work, and they're not necessary. And yes, they could have made these things with disintegrating fasteners. But no, these deer have to walk around with this shit now. And let me tell you, we take care of a couple of them too, and it bothers them. They've got big bear marks on their neck. They constantly are flapping their ears because it must be an annoyance when the tags are as big as their ears. To me, these animals are just a very fine line below a human. A living thing almost as big as a human. Our second biggest mammal that we deal with on Long Island, till you get upstate where you got bears. And that's the problem with this deer thing. These people came out and they're hate these deer, blah, 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 blah. You weren't respectful to the people who love these animals. People that have a connection with these animals, like me. You don't just go out and say, look, we got to start culling and killing because it's interfering with our quality of life. It's usually my quality of life. But when you get a group together and you get enough of these people, being respectful, not saying wacko, okay? Just did.
Do you think it's mostly the ticks? Or is it mostly the gardens?
Well, you can solve both those problems easily if you want to. It's not what they want. They don't want to have to do what other people are telling them is the right thing. They want the deer gone. The ticks don't go away when the deer go away, and they're going to find the same ways to get around. The raccoons, the birds, the rabbits, foxes, dogs, and humans, they're going to travel. Focus on killing the tick and helping the deer get away from the ticks like we want to get away from them. We should be helping this species the way we want to help ourselves, rather than thinking we're going to eliminate the problem by killing this species. It's just ridiculous. It's insanity. It's insanity. And people buy into it. People buy right into it. I don't get it. They buy right into it. If they didn't, we just have
You
a paradise.
raised raccoons?
We raised 4 raccoons 4 or 5 years ago to study their behavior and get to know a lot about them. We have everything back here. We feed the squirrels. We have pet squirrels because we raise them. We have our deer colonies. We have our rabbits. We have a bunch of songbirds.
Just the core of this for me, or the thing I want to keep asking you in every possible way, is the philosophy of this.
Tell me if this doesn't answer your question. Look what we do with police dogs. How much different than a coyote and a wolf and a fox, for that matter. Believe me, if we get a population of coyotes, people are going to want to start killing them too. Think about that and then say, well, what about a police dog? He can win citations, awards. He can retire with a pension and being well taken care of. And if you kill a police dog, charged with murdering a police officer.
2 eyes, nose, mouth,
Right.
feet, arms, designed just like we are.
Right.
Whole universe going on inside of each of these animals.
What's to say these animals don't have a personality,
Of course.
a feelings,
Of course.
emotions? Problem is with humans, if you can't see an expression, then you don't believe it.
What is it about the species of humans that cannot go there? Is it because we don't want to be identified as an animal, or?
I don't think that would be the case, but that's an interesting way to put it. There's people out there that you'd be a self-hating species. What do you call that, you know? If we really spend all this time and focus on exterminating another living species, these animals have been around for 3+ million years. They're survivors.
That's this week's Phantom Hampton episode. If you want to hear more Phantom Hampton, you can find us on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Libsyn. The rescue business is a job and a passion for Dell, as is all of his work. His books, his photographs, his television show, his classes, his films, and his litter campaign. You can see all of his projects at his Imagination Nature website, imaginationnature.com. His documentary film, Isabella, shot in the Galapagos, is now available on Amazon.